Hey, what's up everybody? TJ and Carrie here with Muscle Growth Mindset. So we're going to touch on some types of infrared therapy.
Yes.
There's several of these out there. We've been doing some research. Carrie's been doing a lot of research. You've heard of infrared saunas, and that's the first I've really heard of or knew about infrared therapy. But that's not the one we're going to talk about today, right?
Right. Okay. So when people talk about infrared saunas, generally that's far infrared, using heat as a mechanism, and there are some other benefits from far infrared. I'm not going to go into that because that's not where I find most of the almost miraculous infomercial style benefits come from. All right.
Infomercial style. I like
Yeah. Well, I some of it sounds too good to be true, so I had to do a lot of research. I didn't think it was real. I didn't know why I hadn't heard as much about it. There was a doctor, Dr. Rhonda Patrick, that was talking about infrared sauna, and she said, well, it's just a sauna, like a heat sauna, and heat's good for you, but it's not that miraculous, and she's right. Once I started doing the research on it, an infrared sauna is not anything much more than a regular sauna.
And that's the far red.
Right.
So we're going to talk about near red.
Right.
Right? Near red therapy.
And
near red light therapy.
Correct. Near infrared light therapy. And initially I couldn't find a lot of information on it. I was like, what's all the hubbub about? The problem is using correct verbiage for the scientific vernacular. So there's not a lot of evidence on near infrared therapy. They've been researching it since the 60s using a different name, and what they would call it is low-level laser light therapy, which, because of all of the plethora of results they got, enough results, there are thousands of papers on this. To me, that's always a good sign. That means if they got some results, more people are going to research it. If there's not a lot of papers, that means they didn't get enough evidence, so they kind of abandoned it.
Yeah, so there's obviously something to this, because like I said, thousands of papers have been written on this, so it's piqued a few people's curiosity.
Absolutely.
And what have we found in these thousands of papers that you read all of, right?
Yeah, of course not. I did not have the time. I found other people who had gone into reading a lot of different papers, and then of course I went and checked some of the ones they highlighted, and just for another point, low-level laser light therapy, what they've tried, so if you want to find some more recent papers, photobiomodulation is the terminology they use.
Photobiomodulation.
Right.
So if you can spell that, you can look it up.
One of the best papers I saw was recommended to read was Proposed Mechanisms of Photobiomodulation. And the title is really positive in itself, because they're not talking about whether or not photobiomodulation works. They've already seen enough results to know that it has effects, and the title is Proposed Mechanisms. So they're trying to figure out why.
So we know that it works. We know it does. It has some really positive outcomes by the use, but now we're just trying to sort out like exactly how this whole process works and why this causes this effect.
Exactly.
We talk about this all the time. We have a cause and effect. It's like, what the heck happens between?
Do you want to know a little bit about the effect, or should we just go into what it does?
Let's go into what it does. Let's get some people excited on why they need to look into this. So, let's start off with we're all into muscles, right?
Mm-hmm.
Bodybuilders and powerlifters and strength athletes and performance athletes. So why should we care about this?
Okay, so because of the mechanisms that it involves, it has a lot of beneficial effects on muscles. So that if you use photobiomodulation before a workout, it can increase the amount of repetitions, muscle growth. They had a couple different parameters for that: muscle thickness and width. They also more reps, even though that you're producing more lactic acid, more vascularity. The one paper I read was whether or not this should be considered fair. If it's okay for people to use before an athletic competition.
Yeah, so some people feel like this is cheating.
Yes, scientists as well as other athletes that know about this. So
That's a good sign.
that's a good sign. That's
That
a
means
good sign.
something's working.
Absolutely.
So you say this could increase endurance, increase
Absolutely.
hypertrophy. It can build more muscle.
Cyclists and runners are a big time user. What it does is it affects mitochondria, and that's one of the bigger things is cyclists and runners are going to use it. But it probably has the least amount of benefit for a power lifter. But a bodybuilder, increased vascularity, increased muscle growth and thickness and width, these are definitely beneficial things.
And this is something that it has to be done. It's a pre-workout type thing.
The most benefits for the muscle would be pre-workout, yes.
So you would, before you go train biceps, you would do
Decreased
this
delayed
infrared
onset
therapy
muscle.
on your
Yes.
whatever muscle group you're going to work, and then go train it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So you said for muscles, yes. What else are we talking here?
So I did a bit of research on it. The muscles, I was pretty excited, but I'm gonna move to the next part, which was what got me really amped, was the brain. So there shows a lot of benefits on the brain. I won't go into the reasons yet. We'll come back to the reasons. I will say that if you know anything about BDNF, which is some people call it miracle growth for the brain, being in the industry I'm in and know what steroids do, I call it steroids for the brain. So it promotes growth in the brain. So this low-level laser therapy, photobiomodulation, increases BDNF in the brain, which is one of the primary things. What they've used it on is Parkinson's patients, Alzheimer's patients, people with stroke recovery, mild strokes seem to show some improvement, but major strokes not so much. I wasn't sure why. Alzheimer's patients, decrease in the plaques formed in the brain, and they showed a considerable amount of improvement for these people. On rats, they would try to simulate traumatic brain injury by dropping a specific amount of weight on the head. Rats, they can do whatever, I guess. And then,
No human trials have been done yet.
not like that. And then they would use the photobiomodulation, and so show a lot of improved results. And one of the funny things is they actually, to see about these brain results, they wanted to find out how it was happening. They would wrap some of these rats' head in aluminum foil to prevent the light from getting there, and they would shine it on the body, and they still found some positive results in the brain.
So it doesn't have to be directly
Yes.
on the brain, but it.
Still has BDNF release, neurogenesis, synaptogenesis.
So is this something that works better? I mean, what if your brain is just completely healthy and you don't have any issues?
Well, if you release, if you're completely healthy and you put steroids into your body, your muscle is going to improve from that.
Yes, that.
So if you release BDNF in a healthy brain, likely you would have, if you have synaptogenesis and neurogenesis, increasing neurons, increasing synapses, you would probably have increased brain function from that.
I'm not saying that's me. I could use some help.
I thought it was completely fascinating, and cheating for muscles, maybe cheating for brain. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Is there? What have they found as far as some of these diseases you had talked about with Parkinson's, with Alzheimer's? What results have they seen through human usage?
A significant percentage is what I read, and I don't know. I didn't go real far to that. I don't know if that means 1%, because I know the 1% theory, 1% per day. You can have it. You can get whatever you want if you increase 1% per day. So, but it's a measurable, significant percentage of increase, except for the major extreme strokes, minor strokes, traumatic brain injury, Alzheimer's, Parkinson. I think was less so, but there was still some improvement. So it seems like a method that could be used to treat, not cure, but help treat.
Okay. So it's good for the muscles, it's good for the brain. It's also good for skin, right?
Oh, absolutely. So there was quite a bit on skin and hair. There were so many papers I didn't have time. I wanted to start with the muscle and then the brain. So I didn't, but they can use it to treat vitiligo, scar tissue. A lot of that can be, if not removed, helped. Skin healing. Hair, there was some interesting thing about hair. They compared it to the two other major drugs out there, minoxidil and there's another one starts with an F, that it was better than minoxidil and about the same as the other drug. They were measuring amount of hairs regrown per cubic centimeter, and it was 18 per cubic centimeter, while minoxidil had 8. So it was a significant hair growth increase.
So using the infrared light therapy will make your hair grow back faster than minoxidil will.
Yes.
Interesting.
There's some effects on the nerves too. One of the major things they used it was for an analgesic, which is a numbing effect. So it can increase your pain tolerance, which might help maybe one of the reasons it helps your workouts.
Yeah.
But increases pain tolerance. They were using it in oral surgery. They would numb one side and use the light on the other, and found about the same results.
Interesting.
Yes. It also promotes various growth factors in the body, which BDNFN is a growth factor, but there was a whole slew of them, including IGF-1, bone growth.
Very important growth factor for
Yes.
muscular development.
Yes. And there were several others. I don't want to bore you with all the details, but promotes proliferation, bone growth, tendons, skin, hair. The list goes on.
So what do they use this for more than anything right now? Is this something that's more of a rehab type thing? I mean, it could be used either way, but where do we see this used most? Because I know you mentioned for athletes and stuff, some people have used it, but it's not really mainstream, is it?
No, and even though there's tons of evidence, there's people are shying away from using it. So it's usually fringe because I think it's because it sounds like an infomercial. It sounds unbelievable. You're like using light that doesn't seem to work. It's something I've seen more often, which is why I started looking into it. You know, I'm always the doubter. I'm like, no, that can't be real. But the evidence seems clear. I think what I see it is mostly health conscious people, biohackers and bodybuilders and athletes who are willing to do whatever it takes to get that extra edge. For now, I think at some point, back in the Arnold days, steroids were, nobody knew anything about them. They were using them on the fringe and they were getting amazing results, and people didn't know, people didn't understand. And it became more widespread because of the major success of this. So I believe this is something that's one of the reasons I wanted to do this video, is so that more people got an understanding.
Educate.
Yes, educate.
I think it's good for people that want to take it to the next level. That can, we've talked about it before. Those people that just want that little extra edge, every little thing. It's like, you can take 10 supplements, or which ones do you take? I can only afford 5 of them. You got to pick which one. So if you can do everything, this is definitely something that's going to help you.
I think it's just such a significant boost that, especially if you do it full body, like not only are your muscles going to improve, but skin, healing, bones, tendons, brain.
Right.
Like if you go for the muscle and you get everything else, I just this is huge. I don't know why it's not more widespread.
I think it's also good for preventative maintenance, kind of to fight things like dementia.
Absolutely.
Things, that may be occurring in the brain, or even muscle and connective tissue. Maybe continues rebuilding and building this tissue. So
promotes growth, promotes proliferation, promotes healing.
The likeliness of something tearing or breaking down later maybe decrease. And this is just my theory.
I would agree with you. I mean, like for healing, for preventative maintenance, I cannot see a reason not to be using this, other than if it's prohibitive price. So do you want to know a little bit about the reasons? I know a lot of people might tune out on this one, but
first let's talk about ways to do treatment. First, there's panels you can actually buy,
right,
that are small to wall size.
Yes.
And
okay.
then there's also, I think probably the easiest, best, but it's the most expensive, is they actually have pods or beds, like a tanning bed basically, that you can get in.
So one company that's been very well vetted by a lot of these athletes who are willing to start using this as a fringe science is Joovv, Joovv, and they have small ones about this big that you can target. They have targeted, and then they have large screens. So you can get up to any size one that'll cover a door, and then small ones if you want to leave it on your head, or you got a certain part of your body with a scar or a healing wound or a tear in the muscle, you can just target it. You know, they vary in price from, you know, $300 to $8,000. Then the pods are probably like $30,000. So yeah, if you're a high level athlete, that's something you can afford to put in your house. But you know, renting space on that might be the better idea.
Yeah. And they have I know some like tanning salons, high-end tanning salons, spas have this treatment, I know. So
I've seen a lot of them with far infrared. Be careful, make sure it's near infrared. I think some of them have that. Just you can probably pay a monthly fee and use their beds. So
we're not saying that far infrared is bad, and we're not saying that like the infrared saunas are bad. We're just saying for what we're talking about, the benefits we're talking about, you get from the near infrared.
Right. Far infrared has benefits.
And they're just different benefits.
Yes.
So just put that disclaimer out there.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we can get into.
Okay, so the mechanism, if anyone's versed in some basic biology, you know that, you know, glycolysis goes through the Krebs cycle to electron transfer chain and oxidative phosphorylation. So what they see it affecting is something called cytochrome C oxidase, which is the very last enzyme in the electron transfer chain. And what it does is nitric oxide apparently will block that pathway from time to time, stick in the enzyme, and it frees up nitric oxide, allowing the mitochondria to, and oxidative phosphorylation, electron transfer chain, this is what's called the payoff. So that's where the majority of ATP, which is where the energy in your body, is produced. So it enhances mitochondrial function as well as releasing nitric oxide. Anybody who works out wants that pump,
blood flow,
vascularity. So it frees up nitric oxide and also increases energy production. That's one of the most basics of how it works. For some of the rest of them, why these things are promoted, IGF and all these growth factors and BDNF, it could have something to do with that. They're trying to figure out the mechanism.
So for, you know, muscular wise, you're going to increase in ATP, which is good. That's our energy source that we use and helps build muscle. And then the
nitric oxide.
Yeah, nitric oxide, which is blood flow. Of course, more blood flow to the muscle carries more nutrients, better growth, better recovery, things like that. That's why you take all your pump products, all your NO products.
Yes.
So
as well as the analgesic portion, which is pain reduction. So you should be able to get a few more reps, either from the pump or from feeling less of the burn.
So this is pretty amazing stuff. There's a lot of crazy benefits that can come from this. So it's definitely worth looking into.
Yeah.
We're gonna do more research, and you never know. Maybe at Legends, you're gonna see one of these pods here soon.
It might be a good investment, man.
So muscular-wise, you get more energy, more recovery. Increased ATP, increased blood flow.
As well as these other benefits, if you're thinking about muscle first, it still gives you the hair and skin and nerves and bone.
Brain.
So much brain benefit. Yeah.
So if you want to be bigger, stronger, more endurance, and smarter,
use the infrared low-level laser light therapy or photobiomodulation.
Awesome. I know that was a lot of information and a lot of big words from Kerry. So hope you guys followed along and enjoyed it, learned something.
Yeah.
Do your own research. Let us know what you think. Let us know if you have any questions. And until next time.
Don't forget rule number 1.
Hey everybody, I hope you really enjoyed our video. Please like and subscribe if you did.
And if you want to see more, or if you have any questions, leave some comments. Thanks for watching.